When it comes to paddle sports, there are two camps: the die-hard paddleboarders and the committed kayakers. And the folks in those camps rarely cross over. Think of it this way: if there's a Venn diagram of paddleboarders and kayakers, that little overlapping bit in the middle, it's gonna be pretty dang small. And that's fine. Everybody has their preferences. But sometimes we kayakers wanna spend a leisurely afternoon in the sun, and paddleboarders wouldn't hate a little back support from time to time, or a faster way to get from point A to point B. So what if there was one piece of gear that could do both? We tested the Aisle Switch Compact to find out if it was just the thing to bridge that divide. But before we get into a full review, let's break down the main differences between a kayak and a stand-up paddleboard, or SUP. Now, I've always been a kayak fan myself. I prefer to move fast, cover a lot of ground, and be comfy for long periods of paddling, and a kayak makes all of that possible. Plus, kayaks tend to offer more storage space for gear, both inside and strapped outside the boat. They have a faster and more efficient body design, you're less likely to accidentally fall in the water while you're paddling, and there's usually a supportive seat of some kind with a backrest. But you can't stretch out or change positions very well. They're harder to get in and out of if you're swimming frequently, and you're definitely not heading out to try paddleboard yoga. But recently, well, really since moving to a place with nice, calm, sunny reservoirs perfect for leisurely floats, I've been open to the idea of trying a SUP. After all, there are more physical body positions to paddle in: standing, kneeling, sitting, etc. So you can mix it up, you can stretch out in the sun more comfortably, they make it easy to hop in and out of the water on warm days, and they're better suited for strapping down bulky items like coolers. Plus, they're nicer and easier to be able to hang out with your friends. Basically, they're the party barge of personal watercraft. So when we saw the Switch Compact from Aisle, an inflatable SUP designed to transform into a kayak of sorts, we were intrigued. We'll link to it below, by the way. So we got our hands on one and took it out to the water to give it a try to see if we might be open to also being paddleboard people. But first things first, this is called the Compact because it's smaller than the original Switch. It packs down 40% smaller, in fact, though it's still fairly hefty at 34 pounds for the board, backpack, carry case, and accessories. It's designed for one person since it's just 10 foot 6 inches long. The original Switch can more easily accommodate two at 11 foot 6 inches, plus it's a little bit wider. But we did cram two small individuals on there without too much discomfort. That said, the paddling was quite a bit slower with two on board. The board is flat, after all. It doesn't have a curved hull like most kayaks to help it glide through the water instead of just sitting on top of it. I'm saying that having one person on board is ideal, not two people. It does have a capacity up to 220 pounds, so you could always throw a kid or a dog on there if you have a little wiggle room weight-wise. It does have two lockable fins on the bottom, which are small, but do help it stay moderately straight on the water, though on a windy day, it was still pretty difficult to keep straight, more so than a kayak would be. It has bungees on the front and back to secure gear, carry handles, even a Velcro paddle holder on the side, and an ankle leash, of course. But what makes this board unique is the included seat and footrest that attach and detach easily using the Aisle Link system, which is all these webbing loops all the way down the board. You can also use those to connect other paddle boards or tie down gear, by the way. You just inflate the seat and footrest, clip in, and go. Oh, and also swap out the end of your paddle with the included extra paddle so you now have a double-sided paddle like you would with a kayak. Now, is this the only brand to offer a board with an attachable seat and multifunctional paddle? No, but it is one with the most comfortable looking setup. Another one I saw didn't have the footrest, which if you kayak know is basically essential, so. But this might be the only inflatable board that's PVC-free. Well, almost. And just in this one color, the Ice Dawn Navy. It's 95% PVC-free. There's still a bit of it in the side rails, but it's mostly made with TPU instead, even though PVC is pretty standard for most inflatables, and that matters because it means the board's production avoids most of the highly toxic chemicals involved in PVC production. Now, TPU is also recyclable, though there's no real way to recycle a board like this yet. We can hope one day soon. Anyway, as far as performance goes, the board is wide enough to feel tolerably stable, though of course tippier than a kayak, and ultra rigid thanks to the internal drop stitch design and the welded, not glued, side rails that make for a longer lasting board. It comes with a 5-year warranty, by the way, which is pretty good for an inflatable. But is this board really the best of both worlds? Well, it's definitely still more SUP than kayak. There are no sidewalls, so you won't magically have the storage space that often comes with a kayak, or walls that keep things inside instead of rolling off into the water. And the actual act of paddling is still slower and less efficient than a real kayak, even in kayak mode, so you aren't going to get anywhere super fast without a bit of experience. Nor will you have the built-in stability or the efficient body design of a kayak. But there are other upsides. For example, if you like to take a dip frequently or want to have more space to just stretch out and move around, the Switch offers the option to do so with ease. But if you find you either need some back support on a long paddle day or need to sit just to minimize wind resistance, that's an option too. Though I will say it's easiest to commit to whether you want the seat or not at the beginning of each outing. You can bring it along, of course, the seat, footrest, and air pump for a mid-adventure swap, but it will take up most of the room on the front and or back of the board. So basically, if it's speed and efficiency you're after, the Switch Compact isn't going to perform as well as a traditional kayak, though you can certainly move faster in kayak mode than in paddleboard mode. So anytime I want to cover ground quickly, or when I'm paddle camping like we did on the Buffalo River in Arkansas, we'll link to that video below, a kayak is still going to be my go-to. But if I'm planning a leisurely paddle or outing with a friend who has their own vessel, or a lazy day on the water where I just want to soak up some sun, it'll be the Switch Compact all the way, if only because I can stretch out and lounge while also having the option to sit supported and book it across the lake if I really need to. And honestly, folks with back problems will also really dig having the seat option, as it lets you sup to your heart's content, but then give your back a break when it starts feeling sore. Or kayakers, who still want some of the efficiency of a kayak, but would like maybe to test out paddleboarding a bit. Either way, we'll put a link to the board, as well as some of the other rad gear we used during testing, like our dope Astral Life vest, in the description below. Then subscribe while you're down there so you don't miss our upcoming video about what it's like to explore Crater Lake National Park by bite. If you enjoyed this video, check out our comparison of an inflatable versus foldable kayak, or maybe a review of the giant 3-person hammock from Tensile. Then get out there, paddle happy, whether you're a paddleboarder or a kayaker, and wander on.